Hi, Boris Geniaal op de Real Estate Connect, de vastgoed- en internetbeurs hier in New York City. Samen met vandaag Matthew Shadbolt. En we gaan het hebben over hoe Corcoran Group haar social strategie positioneert. Wat leerpunten daarvan zijn en hoe ziet de toekomst eruit. Matthew, welcome to Fundamental Media TV. I'm thrilled that you took the time to talk to us. Of course, we know you a bit from our trainings, but please, for the people who don't know and who have been sleeping under a rock, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, thanks so much, Boris. I'm really happy to be here too. My name is Matthew Shadbolt, and I'm the Director of Interactive Product and Marketing at the Corcoran Group, which is Manhattan and Brooklyn's largest residential real estate brokerage. We handle about 2,000 agents spread out across New York City, and we also cover markets in the Hamptons, which is a luxury market on the east end of Long Island, and we're also in the Palm Beach market down in Florida. So I'm responsible for anything digital that touches the customer, from our website through to listing syndication, all of our advertising and marketing programs online, right through to product development in mobile, social, video, and emerging platforms. So that's really what I'm responsible for at Corcoran, the value build of our digital marketing as it relates to the customer.
Wow, you must be a busy man. Because you guys
We have a few things going on, yeah.
Well, in the Netherlands, a lot of people refer to your Facebook fan page. That's the thing most visible in the whole strategy. And what amazes us in the Netherlands is the amount of content being pushed out by you and your team, and the number of fans. But please, what is the strategy of the Corcoran Group as far as the social part is concerned?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and we get asked that a lot. There was never a meeting where we sat down and said, what is our strategy going to be? It's been a cumulative, iterative process over the last 3 years. But ultimately, everything comes back to the idea that's core to our brand DNA, which is that when people look for a home here in the city, it's that search process is just as much about what is around the apartment building as what's inside the apartment building. And we call this strategy going beyond the four walls. And what it allows us to do is move beyond listing syndication, move beyond search, and it allows us to start answering the fundamental question that the customer has: what does it feel like to live here? So everything we do in social media attempts to answer that question in different ways. So we actually started with Twitter because we had a customer service problem with Corcoran.com. We couldn't talk to people on our website. So the idea of sort of opening up our website for reviews and commenting is problematic for us, but we wanted to make sure that people could ask us anything that they wanted, from things to do with the real estate process right through to who has the best cupcake on the east side. And they did when we did that. So as we grew in Twitter, we actually ended up creating a lot of content and sharing a lot of content about life here. So after about 6 months, that actually became our Facebook strategy. It became a best of Twitter. They're close together, but they do very different things. Twitter is a lot more conversational, and a lot more business to business for us. It's connections with other people in the industry, although it is the largest source of actual lead generation for us in social media, is what we do on Twitter. But Facebook, as that's grown, we're about 7 times bigger on Facebook than we are on Twitter.
Wow.
But as we've grown in Facebook, we find that there's some really interesting things that work and some terrible things that we did that didn't work at all. So, it's a constant process of trying to have fun with the people that follow us, be relevant inside of the news feed, which is very, very important. I think a lot of people focus on pages as opposed to where people actually consume and see the content, which is in the news feed. So we spend a lot of time in the news feed, especially. And just building out unique ways of trying to answer that question, what does it feel like to live here? That's really what we do on Facebook.
Yeah, you mentioned an interesting point, I think. Twitter, Facebook, Foursquare, Pinterest, which we'll talk about later, they're all different channels, each with their unique DNA. What, let's say Foursquare and Facebook, what's the big difference there?
Well, that's actually a really interesting one, because we're about half the size on Foursquare as we are on Facebook, but for Foursquare we're actually twice the size of what we are on Twitter, which is an interesting thing for us.
Yeah.
When we started with working with Foursquare, we said, well, we're sharing all this great information about where to get the best slice of pizza, or how to cut the line into the club, or who has the best deals in the stores and things like that. We're sharing all this stuff that our agents know every single day. So we're extracting what's inside of the agent's head throughout the day and sharing it on Facebook and Twitter. But what was missing as part of that is the ability to help that person in the moment when they're actually at the venue. And so with Foursquare, it's incredibly popular here in New York anyway. They're from New York.
Yeah.
And what it allowed us to do was put all of the information that we were sharing in social media in the right person's hands at the right time, at the right place. So Foursquare is actually just our mobile social platform. We don't really do anything distinctly different in Foursquare other than populate it with things that we've already shared elsewhere.
Okay. They're building up there.
Welcome to New York.
Yeah. If you walk outside, even at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, you're still working.
That's very true.
Actually, the city that never sleeps.
The city that never sleeps. That's why we're so angry all the time.
Yeah, but you can't shut it down.
That's true. That is true.
I get a lot of times, I get the questions, well, social strategies, fantastic, but how am I going to sell a house through Twitter or through Facebook? I think you must have gotten that question a lot of times too, and I hear it being asked here also. What's your reaction to that?
It's an interesting question. It's a very common question, especially at a conference like this. And I think, from our perspective, we have never had the assumption that we are going to sell property or generate leads inside of social media. Exactly. Nobody is going to experience our Facebook page and call us directly as a result of that. Yeah. Where social media becomes important is what happens inside of search results. And by that I mean Google, but I also mean Trulia, Zillow. We have the New York Times here where people look for listings. What happens is as people experience our social media presence across 7 or 8 different platforms, we have fun with them and we help them and we share insightful information over a long period of time. And many of the people that follow us are not in the home buying process, which is why it's not a lead generation platform. But when that person comes to start looking, when they look for 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom on the Upper West Side, either in Google or Zillow or Trulia, and they see the search results, you have a sea of search results from competing brokerages, including us. But what happens is that our results start to resonate more with the customer, and as a result, our overall engagement with our listings goes up, and that's the ROI of the social media, is that it makes our search results much stronger across the search engines and the syndication portals. And we're actually seeing a direct result with that, is that more people are ultimately coming into agents as a result of what we're doing in social media. But the two things are not directly connected.
No.
It's a very important distinction. And social, as it impacts search, that's been really the big play. So you take something like Foursquare, for example. If you have, we have a strategy that's focused on tips, venue tips, what to do at certain locations. And the more popular your tip, if you have the most popular tip that's been done by the most people, or the most people have added it to their lists, when somebody does a search for that venue in Google and the Foursquare venue page surfaces, you see the Corcoran tip in Google under that result. So that's huge brand recognition for us, and it's great social search for us.
Yeah. Actually, through that, you become relevant. You become an authority at the location. Yep. And I think, in essence, you become a trusted source for the right information. Yep. Which will lead to hopefully some kind of deal that.
Yep. It does lead to deals. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A new channel which I just discovered, I don't know if it's been around for very long, is Pinterest, and I heard it's getting some real big following in the US at this moment.
That's right, yeah.
I saw you guys have a Pinterest board. Pinterest. What exactly is Pinterest?
I always think of it, when I was a teenager, I used to cover the walls of my bedroom with posters, or things that I had cut from magazines, or things like that, and I would cover that with musicians or whoever was into that
sports,
that
whatever,
particular year. It's the digital version of that. It's a way to scrapbook online. So as you're surfing the web and you see things that you like, you can pin images. So you say, well, I'm looking up recipes for how to make cake at Thanksgiving or something like that, and you see these amazing pictures. Okay. You can say, well, that's the one that I want to make. I'm going to pin it. So it's sort of like a visual bookmarking tool. But what's interesting to us at Corcoran is that you can start to create collections of what they call boards, which is a board is a collection of pins. So it's like a group of pins. But what's interesting for us is that it's a great way to answer that question, what does it feel like to live here? Because you can curate boards that says, here are some amazing New York kitchens, here are some amazing New York bookcases, here are some amazing New York bedrooms, views, places in the city, here's what the people that live here look like, here's some amazing New York design. And it's fantastic for us because it allows us to expand our content curation strategy. And what's been the most powerful thing for us is that Pinterest is full of amazing content. So what happens is that Pinterest actually starts to become what we do on Facebook. So recently, over the last 6 weeks or so, the things that we've primarily posted on Facebook have come originally from Pinterest. Wow. Which is an interesting it's an interesting shift for us.
Yeah. Well, and it's another way of looking at strategy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought of this 1 year ago.
No.
Some things just come along, and you go along with that. See what happens. Try to understand the DNA of the channel, and through that, curating content. Curation being you can also take pins from other people and put them on your board.
That's right.
Thus making other people important too, which will always lead to more brand recognition.
Absolutely. And at the core of it, we have this idea that the most shareable type of content on and offline are stories. Yeah. Stories have always been the most shared type of thing people do. Yeah. And they're at the heart of communities. Yeah. They're at the heart of families. Yep. And ultimately they're at the heart of memories.
They touch emotion.
Stories are in many ways sort of like the glue between people. Yeah. And as a result, storytelling is at the heart of what it feels like to own a home. Yeah. And if you buy into that idea, the idea of sharing stories of New Yorkers or places in New York or things to eat in New York or people moving to New York is a fantastically exciting space to work in, especially in social media, because the sharing of stories between us and the people that follow us, what happens is that they share them amongst their friends as well. Yeah. So our engagement levels have dramatically improved as a result of changing to a storytelling approach.
Wow, so storytelling approach is something that slowly came along in your strategy and now works really well for you guys?
Yeah, it's been a recent thing for us, and we do it differently on different platforms. So in Tumblr, for example, our strategy in Tumblr is to almost hold a mirror up to the city and show pictures of New Yorkers. That's our strategy in Tumblr, and it works fantastically well for the audience on Tumblr, which is a lot more visual, in many ways sort of hipper and younger and faster and things like that. And by changing our strategy from essentially sort of a similar approach that we've been taking on Facebook, and now it's all pictures of New Yorkers, we can show a lot of the spirit of what it's like to live here by showing the people that want to live here.
Yeah.
The vibe. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an interesting bridge because I think in essence nothing has really changed in the way that we communicate with people. Just the channels have changed.
Yeah.
Because Brad Inman, in his opening speech, he talked about the cottage economy, that we as individuals are looking towards authenticity and craftsmanship and transparency. And that's basically what you are doing on the different channels.
Yeah, that's very true. And the quality issue is a very important one for us from a brand perception perspective. And as a result, we're always encouraged to be ruthless editors. We would rather do a lot less, but really great. And as a result, sort of we're posting actually less and less. And what we're finding is when we post less but better, the sharing is higher, the engagement is higher, the overall interest is higher, and people moving between the platforms is increasing.
Okay, you measure all that?
As much as we can, yes. Yeah. I mean, some of the platforms, the reporting is a little bit more limited, for example. But as much as we can, absolutely. And certainly as it relates to time spent with us, that's a key metric for us. How long are you spending with Corcoran content online? Okay. And that's a big metric outside of just looking at listings. Yeah. Because that's a better indication of how effectively we're touching the customer.
Wow. You got to do your speech in about, I think, an hour.
Yeah. I have time to get nervous now.
Yeah. On Friday the 13th.
On Friday the 13th, yes. Whose idea was that?
I don't know. Just pure coincidence and luck. I want to thank you very, very much.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you.
Talk to us. And I'm really looking forward to your presentation. Matthew, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Boris.
Bye-bye.
Bye.